Hey everybody, I'm Josh. I guess life makes you bitter sometimes, especially if you're living through suffering, pain all the time. It just seems like everything becomes annoying. I have to catch myself so much not to judge other people for just the dumbest things, seriously. I know I was talking to my oldest daughter, and she was telling me about all these kids that were just so annoying at school and doing this and that. And I was like, listen, every single person is annoying in their own way. We all are. We all are so imperfect. We all are just annoying. It's just what we do. But I think this becomes a problem when you're looking for something like a relationship, even just a friend. You start to pick apart the people. And I think for some of us, and I know for me it kind of becomes an excuse to just be alone and just shut off from the world. Just don't do anything because everybody's so annoying. Because I was so perfect, right? I've always been an idiot. It's kind of my nature sometimes, but I was a happy idiot, and then I became a spiteful idiot. Not spiteful outwardly, but inwardly at least. And you got to just ask yourself, what type of person do you want to be? Do you really want to be the type of person who just judges other people, talks about other people behind their backs, and with all your imperfections, you just overlook it and you just project them onto somebody else? I like to ask people what really makes you happy in life. You got to think about that and think hard, because if it's the answer is something like, oh, I just want, to be rich, and I want to live in a nice house and have a nice car and have everybody love me and so many friends, and just whatever pops into your head without any kind of depth of thought to it. If you pick anything material, what makes you happy, then maybe you should think a little bit harder about what really makes you happy. Because nothing material is going to make you happy. I know I've been pretty broke for almost 15 years now. It's not fun. Yeah, if I could always, if you would ask me what makes me happy, I would definitely say enough money to not be worried about money. Because that old saying, money doesn't buy happiness, is usually said by people who already have money. So they don't know what it's like to sit and just fret over, how are we going to pay the car payment? How are we going to pay the mortgage payment? How are we going to do this? These credit card debts are piling up. It's just unmanageable. That is something that isn't going to ever make you happy. Money just amplifies it. Yeah, you're not going to have that problem now, but let's say you win the lottery tomorrow. You're not going to know who it comes into your life because of the kind of person you are, and who comes into your life because of your money. There's going to be all kinds of new problems that pop up. Then you should try to think about I've been asked the question, if you could go back in your life and change anything, what would it be? Well, I can say this honestly now, and before I never would have ever said this. I would not change a thing. Because it's what happened when I finally heard God's message for the first time. And he spoke to me clearly. Every single mistake that I've made, every bad decision, and I've made tons of them. If you know me and you're watching this, you know that I've made a bunch of stupid mistakes. But I would not change a thing. I really wouldn't. I really do think, and like I said, this is based on what God showed me. You don't have to believe me. It's fine. I'm just trying to tell you my story because that's all I can do. I'm not going to ever try to preach to you. Ever. Because I know people don't want to hear that unless they ask for it. If you ask me to preach to you, I'm probably not going to be a very good preacher, but I guess I could try. But with God showing me the reason for my suffering, every single moment of it meant something. You take away one thing, go back and take away, I guess, I wish I never would have smoked a cigarette. And then I started dipping, and then I started vaping because I was trying to quit each one. No, I wouldn't change that either. These are all experiences that make us who we are. We go through these things because it is leading us to a path of our divine purpose, of our higher purpose in life. It is some place that I wish that everyone that I talk to and everyone that I reach out to try to help and who God puts in my path, I wish they could get to this point. I was thinking earlier, how strange it is. And people who know me too will probably agree how strange it is that I'm doing a more spiritual, wisdom-based podcast or videos on YouTube, when I literally, my whole life, all I wanted to do was just be the clown, just to make people happy and laugh. Well, I have to put my dumbassery aside because as much as I love to make people laugh, and I do, and I still will do it, and I still will have a good time with people, and it is, sitting and telling jokes, and, even roasting my friends, and, throwing jokes back and forth. That is one of the greatest things in life to me. But again, I was shown my purpose, and I'm not supposed to be the clown, at least for the purpose of doing this video, because I'm tackling a more serious issue. Now, what people don't understand, that I say it all the time, and I mean, I'm just a big dumb idiot. Every piece of wisdom and everything that I know, it comes straight from God. And as much as I would love to get on and just do the raunchy jokes and just talk about hilarious things and whatever, I realize that if I do that, then it's going to destroy the credibility, and it's going to push a lot of people away. A lot of people who've been pushed away by, maybe they were verbally bullied or whatever in school, or maybe even later in life or whatever. I don't want to come off as anything like that. So, except for my personal life, when it comes to on here, I need to, not always take myself seriously, but it's a more serious thing. When people are on the verge of suicide, who've lost their children, and they're suffering, a laugh isn't going to help them. A well-timed laugh will always help a little bit, but you have to follow what you're being told. If you don't follow what God tells you, then it's just going to be a mistake, because you're denying your purpose. It's the only thing that really matters. It really is. And I mean, there's so many layers to all of us. I feel like I have more layers than most. I feel sometimes like it's like completely different. Maybe I'm like, I'm not like split personality, but it feels like literally it goes from, I guess sort of like maybe like a bipolar person feels, with the extreme highs and the extreme lows. They have layers to them, but their layers take them to heights and lows that are just a little too much to handle for them, or maybe way too much to handle for them sometimes, depending on how bad it is. So, as much as all my friends who used to just see me do nothing but joke around and literally do anything for a laugh, I'm still that guy. I'm still in there, but this is the layer of me that God wants me to be right now. This is the person, because we're all so much more than our personalities anyway. We're all so much more than anything in this life. We're spiritual beings experiencing the world. But we have to start looking at what is important and what really brings us peace and joy. Checking for ticks. I had one crawling on me the other day, and those little buggers, I know everything's here for a reason, but ticks, maybe if I go back in time and take away ticks, nope. That would start a chain reaction of something awful, because to think that we know more than God, that we can say, oh, let's just get rid of the ticks and the mosquitoes, nothing bad will happen. We'd be destroying a whole ecosystem. But we really just have to dig deep. I understand if you don't believe in God, and I definitely understand if you are soured on or are really feeling certain ways for Christianity. The way that they have portrayed themselves over the years, the church has. The pure teachings of Jesus are just amazing. That's why I went straight to the source. I asked God, what am I supposed to do? And he led me back to Jesus. But it's possible, and I don't know that other people will be saved in other ways, because I have no idea what God's plan is. But that's the thing, you have to try to find out. And if you don't start thinking about what truly makes you happy and why it makes you happy, then you're not going to ever know yourself. I know there was something I was reading, I think it was one of the lost Gospels of the Bible that maybe the Catholic Church decided not to put in there. Talking about how if you know yourself, you will start knowing God. So if you know yourself, if you go through this self-discovery period, God is connected to us inside of all of us. But some of us just don't have that way of tuning, because these brains are they're very limited. So we don't have the way of tuning ourselves to the more divine frequencies. Now we can get, that probably means you're not going to be tuning into the delusional frequencies either, and that's a good thing. But then you're missing out on the divine frequencies. And as many people who suffer supposed mental illnesses can tell you, they go through a lifetime of suffering. So that lifetime of suffering is really just, it's not worth it to most. They would go back and they would take away their mental illness. They would take away their schizophrenia or bipolar or DID or whatever you want, whatever thing they think is a curse on their lives. And it could very well be, because until you get control of it and realize that, hey, this might be a superpower. This is allowing me to see things that others can't see, because I'm glimpsing a reality, and I'm glimpsing spirituality that is closer to God. So if you took away those things, and here's an example of it. When a person who has, we'll just use bipolar because that's the one I'm most familiar with. A person who has bipolar is doing their art. They might be, let's say they're just an artist, a painter. And they paint the most inspired, beautiful pictures. And then they go into a bipolar spiral, hit the lows, and maybe do something that they wish they hadn't done, and their whole family around them is like, what is, you've got to do something here. And so they take their pills like a good little boy or girl, and then they feel like a zombie. There's no inspired art, there's no inspired anything, because there's no inspiration. There's not as much pain, sure, there's not as much suffering, but there's also not as much of that euphoric joy, that connection with the with the higher frequencies, the more spiritual, divine frequencies in life. And this is a very hard one for me. It's a hard one for everyone, I'm sure. I don't think that you should just let your condition go and just spiral out of control and hurt a bunch of people that you love. But I think that over time, you try different things. You try different ways of, and now this is just my opinion, and I am not an expert on this, but the main thing, try exercise if you can. Try doing that artwork, but then making sure that you have some other kind of release, and maybe try if you have to do some sort of medication for it, maybe try something that's not as severe as the things Big Pharma gives you. I'm on several Big Pharma drugs for my pain and stuff, and so I know it's necessary sometimes, and they make pretty decent stuff sometimes, but they also hurt people badly. You know, my father just got out of the hospital, and he had a stent in his heart. Me and my sister and everyone were so worried about him because he was pre-diabetic, I think. I don't think he was full diabetic yet. So he started, the doctor gave him Ozempic. And he started losing weight, and he started, it got the results that he wanted. He was barely eating anything. He got frail and weaker. And then we realized that this Ozempic can actually, it stops your intestines and stuff from even working sometimes. And when that happens, when something in your body stops working, the blood just stops going there, and your body's like, well, I don't need that. So we haven't been using that part of the intestine, so it's just let's just kill it off. And that's one of the side effects of this supposed miracle drug, Ozempic. So luckily he made it through surgery all right, and hopefully it's not going to affect his recovery. But try something different. I have a close family member. I'm not going to, I don't ever want to mention people by name or give clues as to who they are. But they have bipolar, and they started taking cannabis edibles, and smoking too. But it changed their life, not lives. It changed their life. They were able to stay calm and kind of regulate themselves, and not using those crazy drugs that Big Pharma will give you, because they just want to keep you sick a lot of times. They don't want to cure you. Before I go, I'll tell you a little story about, I had a psychologist that dealt with only chronic pain after my disability. And this psychologist told me that his wife worked for a big university and had this breakthrough study on Alzheimer's drugs. They realized that they had always thought that Alzheimer's was because your brain wasn't firing the neurons in a certain way, and that was what was causing the memory loss and confusion. Well, it turns out they found out that no, it's just the opposite. Your brain is firing those neurons at a faster rate, and they might just be like, I'm not a scientist, so I'm guessing it's kind of like a switchboard, and maybe the wires are getting crossed or something. So they made a drug that regulated the firing of those neurons, and it seemed to work wonders. And as soon as it started showing promise in the human trials, the government came in, and the university came in, and Big Pharma came in, and they shut it all down. Because they don't want to cure you. They don't want you to be like, even if you have to buy the drug off of them, and it's a one and done type thing, or they want you to suffer slowly and draw out everything, because they want to control the people. Because for evil people stuck in darkness, it's all about control, and it's all about money. And that's all it's about to them. So we have to look out for each other, and we have to look out for ourselves. And trusting something like Big Pharma to your literal mental and spiritual health, because if you're sitting there like a zombie, it's going to take away a lot of stuff that you don't realize, that you might have been able to connect with God, connect with a certain part of your spirituality, see a divine message, but you're sitting there like a zombie. I understand. It's such a gray area, and that's why I want so badly to help everyone. And I don't have the answers. I only ask God, and He guides me to try to help you as best I can. And so please just take time to sit and think of what would really make you happy and what you would change, and think about the deeper questions in life. Because if you don't, just take time away from just don't play a video game. Don't sit and watch TV for a little bit. Just take a little bit of time for this. You know, you can do it however you want, whatever meditation or whatever, you know, my meditation's walking in the woods. You find whatever you want that'll free your mind and just open it up and just think about these things. They're not only important, I think they're the most important. So why not take the time to embrace them? Why not take the time to focus on what is truly important? I guarantee you that it's just not going to have a negative effect on your life, at least. It could be a waste of time, I guess, at the worst. But yeah, that's everything I got for today. God bless you all.